with the popularity of the NES coming out, and a lot of us still crossing our fingers that we can manage to get one before the holidays get here. Let's go ahead and talk about what are your, because let's be honest, the games that they put on this NES Classic system, they did a really good job. Nintendo could have really crapped out and just done Nintendo published games. And there was some great Nintendo games like Mario Brothers, Zelda, Mario 1, 2, 3, Zelda, Metroid, and there was also a lot of crap. You know, there's like only really a handful of good ones that they could have just published themselves. But they went out and got third-party support, and they got really good third-party support. Mm-hmm. So now it doesn't need to be limited to just the games that come on the NES Classic. That's just what got me thinking. So what are your top 5 NES games, and why are they your top 5 NES games?
I'm looking at
I got a stack of them next to me.
All right, we'll have you go first, Matt.
All right, so I kind of going through this. These may not have been the best games, but these are the games I played the most as a kid. Mm-hmm. And they're the games that I owned. We didn't rent a lot of games, so I guess with mine, I have a list. What did I do with it? In no particular order. Punch Out. Even going back now, playing it. Since the classic came out, still a great game. Mm-hmm. Just the characters. Yesterday when I was getting beat by Soda Popinski, and he was laughing at me like that chicken thing that he does. It almost brought the rage up in me again as an adult, like it did when I was a kid. But it was great.
That game was that control. That was such a unique and amazing. I couldn't believe they could do that in the system. That game was awesome.
No, yeah, and even now, it's just like so much of it was timing, and so much of it was like knowing and routine. Going back and playing it now, I can do good up until I get to the second piston Honda, and then it's like a struggle. I'm just trying to time up when to hit him so I can knock him out in one thing, and it's over. Do
you think that your kids, when they grow up and they're showing their kids, your grandkids Punch Out, they're going to call us racists?
I was thinking about that. The Japanese made that, though. That's true.
That's true. It's totally not on us. We got to give that to Shigeru Miyamoto. I don't know if he has hands on that one or not, but we got to give that to Nintendo. That was in Japan. So when you hear that, da, na, 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 and then he's doing the eyebrow thing, you can be like, not us, man. You can read through the credits. You're not going to see Jeff Anderson and Josh Smith on there. You're going to get a whole bunch of names I can't pronounce, so it wasn't us. And we thought it was offensive even back then. Please, like we thought about it. That's awesome.
I was thinking about that just yesterday when I was playing through.
That's the only real one, isn't it? I mean, it's Piston Honda that you would kind of consider maybe borderline.
I don't know. There are perceptions of an Indian person as being just a guy with flashy eyebrows wearing a turban into a boxing match.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess you could, but I guess the thing I think with Piston Honda is just the music and the eyebrow thing was maybe a little. Who knows? We could go on that for like.
They were
10
all
minutes.
bad.
Tune in next week for which Punch-Out character is the least racist.
Yes, I think it's Little Mac.
Yeah, we'll find something on it. Okay, that's a good one. What else you got? Did you actually? How far have you gotten? You said you've gotten to the Piston Honda twice since you started playing it again the past few days, but you haven't been able to get past him.
Soda Popinski is as far as I've gotten.
Okay, that's actually pretty good for just getting back into it so quickly. Because remember those and God, remember how deep that game was too. That it's not just dodge left, dodge right, punch, high punch, high punch. Remember how you can like dodge, and if you come back really fast, you actually have more options where you have more power or speed. I mean, there's a lot of depth to that people don't go. And for those of you watching, I know that we talked about this last week, man. I think we did.
Yeah.
There was a secret that was found out about. I know that's called just Punch Out now with Mr. Dream. Fuck that.
Yeah.
To me, it's always going to be Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Is that the one you have, or do you have the new one?
I have Punch Out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But there was a secret that was just found, literally, I think, within the last year. And that game's, over 30 years? No, 20. Well, between 25 and 30 years old. But they just found out that when you're playing Bald Bull, and he does this bull charge, there's a tell in the audience of exactly when to hit him. Mm-hmm. And
Piston
they just found out about this now. So for those of you watching, if you're not aware of this, remember you heard it here first. Like we came up with it, right? Don't search the internet for other places. You're not going to see it anywhere else.
Or even a description of what it actually is.
Nope, right here. And now that I've like probably just gone on such a tangent, you've probably already left. But anyway, when Bald Bill's rushing down, there's what? It's a camera flash towards the top right of the screen?
No, it's a guy with a beard that ducks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, he's on the left-hand side of him. Same thing with Piston Honda.
Oh, he's got a tail too?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And the code to Mike Tyson, or I'm assuming it works for Mr. Dream 2. I haven't played that stupid version, is 007-373-5963. That is still ingrained into my head to this day. I will never fucking forget it. If I have kids one day, I'm probably going to forget something really important, but that's still going to be in there, and that's sad. Anyway, good. That's a good one. I love that one. What else
Priorities. Another one was Kid Icarus. I like that game a lot. I actually tried playing it last night, and I am not good at that game at all. At one point, I beat it. I'm not going to beat it today.
That game's
probably
hard.
Not this week. It is.
It looks so simple. You see this little kid with wings and a dress and arrows and things that usually are really small and move really slow, but some of that shit's fucking hard.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I was just kind of trying to get back into the how to shoot the bow, how far do the arrows go, remembering what certain things do. I mean, it's like there's some you just need to sneak past them. If they see you, then they send additional people. It's a lot to remember. I mean, there's treasure rooms, there's rooms you go into and you got to fight things. So
now, have you been using the internet as a guide, or have you been like mapping this out yourself, or have you been trying it from memory, or what?
I've been trying it from memory for the most part.
Oh, dude, I'd at least be writing some shit down on a piece of paper. I mean, that's how we did it as kids. I don't know how else you keep track of all that stuff. Didn't that game, couldn't you power up your arrows, but they would never go farther?
Yeah.
Yeah, they could. There's a certain relic that you can get in the game so that it's certain, not boss level stages, but regular stages in the game where it'll actually go the full screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe
the green arrows?
Found that. Yeah, that game is hard.
It's tough. I don't know if I'm ever going to beat it again. The other ones that I picked, kind of lumping them together, was the Super Mario Brothers. 1, 2, and 3. I loved all those. I mean, to this day, if I'm going to put a game in to just play, it's probably one of those.
Yeah. Those are masterpieces.
The game that I want to start playing again is Legend of Zelda. It's one of those, though, that I feel like I need time to invest in it, though. It's just one of those. I know you can save, but still.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that because Super Nintendo had a much bigger library and a much more diverse library, and Nintendo we all know, but I've got a good feeling we're going to be overlapping on some of these top fives quite a bit. You could probably, you know what though, Zelda goes quicker than you think it does. I mean,
to me it seems like it took forever to beat it the first time.
That's how I remember it too. But like now when you go through stuff. Like, I mean, you go through that level 1 in like 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, I think we were so, as when we're kids being introduced to this. Well, I'll go into that because I'm going to talk about Zelda too. I'm sorry. This is your time. You do your thing.
No, I guess my last one I just threw in here. I liked Bases Loaded a lot when I was a kid. I mean, the sports games on Nintendo weren't all great, but I think they all kind of brought their own thing to it. I remember with Bases Loaded, I mean, you could pitch the ball in a certain way. When you batted, you had to do certain things. It was a tough game to play, but it was one as a kid. This is back when kids actually left the house. I was in Little League. I did those things, so I related to the Bases Loaded games and even Tecmo Bowl and things like that. So
everybody, even if you didn't like football, still played Tecmo Bowl.
Oh.
Yeah, that was awesome. Got nothing better than pissing off the guy that's never played before. By running all the way around the field and coming back and then going all the way. Yeah. That's cool. Was that your 5th?
That was my 5th.
Okay, cool. No, those are awesome ones. I cannot argue any of them. And let's see. Read them off what the 5 were again, Matt.
Punch-Out, Kid Icarus, the Super Mario Brothers trilogy, Bases Loaded, and Zelda 1.
All those, I think, except Bases Loaded, are on the Classic Edition, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't think Base Load is. That's cool. Awesome games. How about you, Dan?
Well, with my list, I decided to go. I know that there was going to be a lot of
Overlap.
probably the same titles being mentioned. So, what I try to do is pick mine based off of what the game or what the game platform kind of offered as a new experience. So, some of these, I don't even know if I'd really call them like my favorite games, but
We can call it important or however you want to word it. Let's be honest, otherwise we are going to overlap.
Yeah, but I like what these games did, so that's kind of how I picked mine out. The first one is the track and field game associated with the Power Pad.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember that one or not, but it had like before the days of Dance Dance Revolution, you just had the big mat you throw down and then just pumping your feet, just trying to beat your buddies standing right next to you doing the exact same thing, looking like an ass while you're doing it.
Or you cheat your ass off and barely stand over it so your heels are basically on it and just kind of clinch them so that they vibrate and piss off the person you're playing.
Just a little bit, yeah. Or jumping off the pad and then back on to get the longest of the long jump. But no, I mean, I like what they tried to do with that. I know they didn't really explore, that
I forgot about
that component very much after the fact. But I remember like a lot of fun just when that was introduced. The other
what other games were there for the Power Pad besides track and field?
that's just it. I
think there was only like 2 or 3, maybe 4 tops. I don't know. We'll look into that later.
The next game that I had was 3D World Runner. And I'm not sure, Matt, if you have seen this game or not, but this is actually a game that came with its own 3D glasses. And when you play it and they're hitting the select button would toggle the mode between regular and 3D view. Now, again, this is obviously not the 3D that we're used to now, and it was relatively crappy. And even the function of the game, which essentially is just you got the back view of a guy and running through 3-dimensional space forward. You can't stop. You can slow down a little bit and try not to just either run into cactuses or run into poles or run into kind of like little moving monsters to the left or the right.
Yeah, that was as basic as you could get. I remember that. And even the thing you shot was just, a circle?
Yeah, essentially, because you can only see it from behind, so you just see jet propulsion of what looks like something about the size of a pumpkin with an exhaust port on it.
I remember you playing that, and I staring at it, thinking, "Oh my God, this sucks. Like, what is this?" Yeah, you're back. I think we had an internet phone, but you're coming in. Yeah. Probably a little blurry, but you'll come in here in a second. I remember watching you play that, thinking, "This is freaking lame." But then you put on those 3D glasses. That was actually pretty cool.
It was
Rad Racer did that too, but that was actually pretty cool in 3D.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it. I had a lot of fun, and again, it was something new that they were able to do with the system. The last 3 on my list, they're less about just innovations on that level. The number 3 would be Double Dragon, and the reason I brought that one in is that. As far as like a side scroller, kind of like a fighting type game, this is the first one that I saw that actually had a relatively decent AI, where you can't just be a button masher and then hope to get through the game. Like you really have to know the mechanics of the guys you're fighting, the expansive list of moves that you are capable of doing, which you can actually build up as the game progresses, and then trying to incorporate that into kind of like a best sort of tactics for whoever you're squaring up against, whether it's doing a jump kick, punching a guy while he's flying on the ground.
Yeah, there's a lot of moves you could do with only 2 buttons.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of variability, and it added depth to the game, added obviously a lot of difficulty to the game, but it made it for a very rewarding experience.
I was gonna say I never beat that. Did you?
Yes, on an emulator in my late 20s. 7-year-old Dan wasn't beating that thing. No, not a chance in hell.
Count it.
Number 2 was going to be. And I brought this up last week, but Battletoads, again, because it's just mindless fluff. It was in the heyday of the Ninja Turtles or the whatever mutated cartoon monsters that they had on Saturday morning cartoons, but they kind of took a theme and let's go with this. Let's get 3, they go in groups, so we'll give them 3 of them. Well, what kind of naming convention? Oh, let's do forms of acne. and just go with that. And
that was fun to play with someone, because couldn't you hit each other?
Oh yeah, you could pick up like a rod and just start beating the tar out of the guy next to you. but just the level designs, as far as there's just kind of the running to the side and then just kind of punching things. There's the descent, your descent down a tunnel, trying to make sure to secure your line so it doesn't get snipped out from above you. There's one where essentially you're just on a big wheel trying to outrun what looks to be like a hypnotic ball, but a little psychedelic, a little trippy.
I forgot about that.
And that goddamn speed bike stage.
Yeah.
The bane of my existence for 91?
Yeah, you beat it like a handful of times.
A handful, I can still, but every time it was well earned, well deserved.
Remember that part where even though you get through the time stuff and you jump, and sometimes even if you jumped, it felt like still wouldn't. It would just say, lands right here, you come through here, but for some reason you still go through the ground and die anyway.
It's just the random way of the game giving you the middle finger.
Yeah.
But it was still a lot of fun. And then number one, which of course I mentioned last week too, was Final Fantasy. Again, this is for somebody that was never really involved in Dungeons and Dragons or any kind of that kind of play style. To have a game where you can kind of come in, essentially build your own protagonists, your own team off of they had what was it 5 different character classes and a group of 4, so there's multiple combinations and customizing for some of them, like their spell set, obviously the equipment that they use, understanding the mechanics of the game so that this particular equipment or this particular kind of style of attack works against these guys but not these guys. Open world expansion, all of these elements just together made for just an incredible experience, and that's kind of why I still love the series as much as I do today.
That was unprecedented for the Nintendo era.
It was just amazing. But yeah, that was my 5.
I remember when we got Final Fantasy, actually, I remember seeing it in Nintendo Power, and I had no interest in it. It looked complex, boring, or whatever, and I think we got it for Christmas. I don't know if we asked for it or whatever it was. But that sucked you in like that. I mean, it felt like you could do anything, and it was so... For that level of complexity, you'd almost think it would turn people off, but I didn't. I mean, it spawned an entire series, so, man, I can't argue with you there. That's freaking awesome. Would you say that thank God it gave us the great Final Fantasy games that we have today?
It gave us some great Final Fantasy games.
Hey, 15 is out any day now. Maybe it'll be the saving grace. We don't know. I don't know. Some of those games get shit on that I still liked. I thought 10 was good, but
no. Every one of the series is at least they try to innovate some kind of new mechanic. And again, obviously that's kind of been hit or miss with some of these games, but they always kind of really tell like a just this large scale story that's. I think regardless of how the gameplay actually works, they always do a good job, at least of building characters. Some of the characters you like, some of them you hate, but Square has done a really effective job of kind of building up a good cast.
They have Sid in every one, don't they? Well, still to this day.
Well, and the Biggs and Wedge. So.
Going everywhere, hoping you don't get sucked into a monster fight in the forest and the distance. Yeah, that game was awesome, and that is also on the classic edition as well too. That is an awesome list.
Thank you.
As far as those Final Fantasy games, what's your favorite Final Fantasy game, really quick?
Oh, definitely 7.
7.
Yeah, I'm a Cloud Strife man all the way.
I'm going 4, everybody. Okay, 4. I know that there's lots of people out there on the interwebs that always like to say that 6, i.e. 3, in the United States is the best. Fuck that. 4. Okay? Whale ship. Whale ship moon.
Stop digging, you struck oil.
That's right. 4, baby. Awesome. No, those are great. Okay, so for mine, here's what my 5 type are. I think we all kind of had the same idea. Not necessarily. I mean, best is something different to everybody. I had ones that I thought were, if I was going to show to my future kids or someone that's never played Nintendo and they're not used to 3D PlayStation 4 graphics and actually want to go through the same process that we did, here's what I came up with. First one is Contra. Specifically for a few reasons. Number one, it's a fun-ass, kick-ass game. It's not the first game where the Konami code, the famous up, up, down, down, left, right code, was implemented. That was actually Gradius. But let's be honest, it's the one that everybody thinks about when you ask them what that code works on. It's even been commonly called the Contra code. It's not. It's the Konami code. But anyway, but not only was that game awesome, the game changed up. It would go from side scroller to zooming in levels to vertical levels. It was hard as shit. Like, I don't know if it's feasibly possible to beat the game without that code. I think that's why they put the goddamn code in there, because you need the code to get past the first few levels alone, because then you get 30 levels or 30 guys every continue. But another thing that I loved about it was the 2-player.
Yeah.
That was an awesome game when you're doing like a sleepover with your friends, that you play with 2-player, because even though you can't hit each other, when the weapon power-ups come, whoever gets it gets it.
You know who your real friends are when that happens.
And when you get to the vertical levels, you can totally screw your buddy over by trying to ascend faster. And that does such an interesting dynamic when you got a group of people watching that are laughing their butt off. But that was a fun game to play, especially multiplayer. It is not on the Classic Edition. Super C is. Super C. I never played Super C. I'm assuming it's good. If it's like Contra, I'm sure it's really good. It got good reviews when I looked it up. I was surprised they didn't put Contra on there, but then the more I looked into it, the more I was not surprised, because I think in all the virtual console where you've been able to get the Nintendo games before, I don't believe that they've still put out Contra. I think it's a licensing issue. I don't know if it's got something to do with the trademark name or something, but they always put out Super C and not Contra. So I'm guessing they didn't leave Contra out to give us the finger. I'm assuming it's just something more complicated than that. But I would definitely choose Contra. That game was awesome. Next one, again, Matt, totally agree with you, Zelda. When that came out, it was so different. I mean, it's kind of interesting to look back. You remember the first thing you do when you're open is no directions, no explanation. Yep. There's just a cave. It's another Miyamoto genius, just like in the first Super Mario Brothers, where you're standing there and the Goomba's coming at you. It teaches you to play. Like, if you don't, in that Super Mario Brothers, if you don't move, that Goomba will eventually run into you and you die. It teaches you to go right. And then if you just keep going right and walk into him, you'll die. It teaches you to push a button so you can learn, I can jump over him. Zelda kind of did the same way. There's a cave right in front of you. You go in there, you get a sword, and then you go anywhere. And I think it was because even though the levels were all named level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you could technically do them in any order. That might have been challenging. But that fact that you felt so free, like you could go anywhere, explore anywhere at that time. I mean, it's kind of interesting to look back now and see that grid of screens in the overworld. But back then, it just felt huge. I remember there was places that we never got to, when you're just getting into the game, that you've got this friend that's been playing it, and he's gotten much farther than you. I remember we had a buddy, we went over to go see him, and he's shooting these weird beams. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And why is your character white and blue? And he's like, well, I got the blue ring. And we're like, oh, yeah, the blue ring? Where the hell is the blue ring? And he's got the magic wand where he can shoot stuff all the time, even when all of his hearts aren't full. Yeah. What the hell? But yeah, that sense of awe and just going out there and do anything was just so... That was a big deal. So I couldn't agree more. And I'm so glad that that's on the Classic Edition that's coming out in there, because that's still fun to play this game. And then the whole fact that, by the way, there's an entire second quest in there. And it's different and hard. And they don't teach you stuff at all anymore. So, like, they don't even tell you can walk through walls in the second quest. You have to figure that out yourself. I still don't understand how we figured that out as kids.
Nintendo Power.
But I don't think Nintendo Power was even out yet at that point. Maybe it was the newsletter. I'll have to take a look. But you know what's interesting? The new Zelda, Breath of the Wild, that's coming out in tentatively March, April, whenever it was, apparently it's taken a lot of cues and inspiration from the original Legend of Zelda. I mean, not only is it big open world, supposed to be just absolutely massive. I mean, the demos they were showing at E3 were only like 1% of the game, they were saying. And that was something where you had hundreds of media and journalists playing this game for an hour or two, and not one of them... Or not, I should say not one of them. Not two of them had the same experience. They all had different experiences, and that's 1% of the game. But apparently they took the instruction booklet with all the art from the original instruction booklet, and they modeled a lot of stuff after it. So it's kind of the same mountain scenes and going places. That's going to be freaking awesome. So if you really want to get into Breath of the Wild and you're buying a Nintendo Switch this coming spring, do yourself a favor. Get the Classic Edition. Play it the right way. so that you actually know the origins of where this great franchise has come from. Other than that, you don't care, and you shouldn't be watching the show. Anyway, next one. Ninja Gaiden 2. Here's why I picked that. Maybe the little bit of bias because that was the only Ninja Gaiden that we owned. But we did play a lot of the first one, which was hard as shit. But the control was really good. What I love about those Ninja Gaiden games is they're hard. They're brutally hard. I mean, sometimes those goddamn eagles that keep respawning and purposely hit you right as you're doing a jump on purpose. But you can learn them all. Like, you can master it and get really good where you are just wowing everybody that's watching you play. Like, if you die, yes, the games are hard, but you can get really good at them because the control was as good as it was. I like 2 better just because, I thought it just, did what the first one did, but it did a little bit better for the second one. Toned down the difficulty so it wasn't like Ghosts and Goblins bad. It was still hard, but it wasn't Ghosts and Goblins bad. The cutscenes in that movie... or in that game were so cool. That drew me in from the first one. I mean, you'd never played, that I can remember, a Nintendo game that almost felt like you had way more connection to this tiny little sprite character that you're playing when you're watching them in all these awesome cutscenes, and there's kind of that anime vibe to it, from the sword clashes. And it was awesome. The bosses were awesome. They were epic. They had an alien and mystical nature. The story at the end with Jakku and the Dark Sword was really cool. I just thought that was definitely, and still is to my favorite day of the trilogy, my favorite Ninja Gaiden game. But since it's a little bit easier and kind of well-rounded, it's kind of like the Mega Man 2 of the Ninja Gaiden series. And ironic I bring that up because my next game is a Mega Man game. And it's not Mega Man 2, it's Mega Man 3. And I know that most people go with Mega Man 2 being their favorite, kind of for similar reasons, not as hard as the first one. Did stuff better, was fun, cool. Again, fuck you guys. It's 3, okay? 3 is the better one. 4, 5, and 6, I never even played until literally the last few years, which are actually really good. I mean, all the Mega Man games are good. And I can't believe, actually, if you get a chance, go back and play 6. I can't believe that they can get that game to run on a Nintendo. Because some of the animation stuff they do in that, you'd think is like almost like 16-bit. It's impressive. And that was the end of its life cycle. But 3 I just have such fond memories of because obviously, specifically, that was the one that we owned. We didn't own 2, did we?
Nope.
Okay. But I just like the way that they did everything in 3. From the level design to the music, I can still remember that music of that game more than any of them of the other games in the series. And playing the bosses from the second one all over again. And I think it was the best Wily Castle that they did of really all 6 of them that were on the original NES. But if you really want to get into a good Mega Man game, I would probably say I'm glad they put 2 on the Classic Edition because I think that's the one you want to start with. But if you like that series, definitely get into 3, 4, 5, and 6 too. And then 1 if you really want to challenge. And my last game, again, Matt, we're going to overlap, but I specifically picked one because I'm not lazy. I did Super Mario Brothers 3. Highest seller on the Nintendo console by far.
Yeah.
It was his
Best
masterpiece.
graphics.
All the Mario games, you're absolutely right, are awesome. I mean, it's still fun to pick up Super Mario Brothers 1 and go play it. And how excited was everybody for Mario 2? There was a shortage of chips. You remember the lines for Christmas and people trying to get that game for months and months and months. Like, you had bragging rights if you had that cart in your house. But 3 was such a jump up. It's interesting to watch 3 compared to not just Mario 1, but every other game on the Nintendo Entertainment System and say, how are both of these games running on the same system? I mean, that was huge sprites, way more animation, an overworld map that was just extreme where you can go from world to world, different themes on every world that they might have had in the first couple games, but to a much higher degree. The power-ups, the secrets, the fact that they didn't even have in the instruction booklet Hammer Brother Mario, but he's in there. You can be Hammer Brother Mario. The boss battles got a lot bigger. All the Koopa Kids. I mean, I really just think it's the pinnacle of the Nintendo Entertainment System is Super Mario Bros. 3. In fact, it's so good that when they made the Super Nintendo, they put them all together, All-Stars, Super Mario All-Stars.
Yeah.
There's almost not that much difference of 3 other than just the color palette, just because it was so close. But that game was freaking awesome.
Don't sell short the movie the game was tied into as well.
Oh yeah, we all remember the Wizard.
That hour and a half
And the Power
long
Glove
commercial.
The hour and a half long commercial that made Nintendo at least another $20,000 or $30,000.
Yeah.
I'm trying to.
Fred Savage's best work.
Oh my God! You know what? That'd be so great to actually do an interview with him and then just jump right into that movie and forget everything else
not
he
even
does.
him. I want to talk to the guy who had the Power Glove and said it was so bad.